It began with the sound, a low, rumbling thunder that didn't belong to weather or wildlife. I heard it first from the kitchen, where I was boiling coffee, then again as I stepped out onto the porch and watched a cement truck lumber across the little timber bridge that connected my property to the county road. The truck was too big for that span. You could see the planks flex as it passed, the bolts groan, the whole bridge shaking like a giant waking up. I remember a flash of anger, not because they were noisy, but because that bridge had been my grandfather's work. He'd cut every timber and driven the first spikes himself. It was a small thing, a single-lane crossing built for tractors and pickups and the occasional hay wagon, not for heavy industrial traffic. At first I thought it was a one-off, some contractor taking a shortcut. Then the next week there were 2 trucks, then 5. They came in convoys on weekdays and weekends, dumping gravel and hauling machinery for a development 2 miles down the road. Word was the HOA had contracted a paving company to widen a driveway. Convenience, they said. Permission apparently had been verbal. No permits had been filed with the county that I could find. No one had asked me. No one had called. They just used the bridge like it was public infrastructure. I walked over and stopped the foreman one afternoon, waiting for his defensiveness to match the way his trucks had driven over my land. "Hey," I called, hand on my hip, "that bridge isn't rated for your loads." He glanced at me as if I'd interrupted his lunch. "We got permission from the HOA," he said. "Main road's blocked. We're on a schedule." "The HOA doesn't own this bridge." I kept my voice low. "They don't own this land." He shrugged and waved me off like a fly. That was the moment I realized this would be a long fight if I tried to go it alone. I started small. I called the HOA board and asked for paperwork. They sent a cheerful email about community improvements, a generic PDF without signatures or permits. I called the county engineer's office and asked about permits. The clerk pulled a file and said, "No, we don't have anything new on this bridge." I took a deep breath and signed the county form to request an inspection. Bureaucracy moves slow, but it moves with authority. That would matter. While I waited, I documented everything. I put a dash cam on the post of the bridge, angled it at the center of the span, and set another camera at the entrance to the drive. I kept a log of plate numbers, times, and the number of passes. I spoke to neighbors who complained quietly about the dust and broken boards. One elderly couple handed me an old folder of the bridge plans, yellowed and precise, showing design loads and construction notes from decades ago. My records were growing into something that could not be dismissed as cranky behavior. The county inspector came out 2 weeks later and poked around with a clipboard. He measured the deflection under a pickup and frowned. "Not designed for consistent heavy truck traffic," he said, and he wrote it down on his official paper. I let him take photos. When he left, he called his supervisor and told me they would escalate the matter if the crossings continued. Then he said something I'd been hoping he would say. "I'll put an emergency, no heavy load order in if that contractor keeps driving over it." I thought that would be the end, but bureaucratic orders only have teeth when someone is ready to wield them. The HOA board responded with a glossy letter about project necessities, local homeowners' convenience, and the economic benefits of road improvement. Karen, the woman who seemed to run everything in the subdivision and who always had the loudest voice in any meeting, sent me a private message. "Stop making this a problem. We have rights too." Her tone made it clear she believed rights are what you assert loudly, not what you prove on paper. That's when I shifted tactics. Public pressure would be my lever. I called the county paper and told the editor what was happening. The reporter came out the next morning with a cameraman, and we walked the span while the county inspector explained the structural risk on camera. The headline the next day read, "Local bridge not rated for construction traffic, county weighs action." Someone had finally added sunlight to what had been a quiet entitlement. The contractor kept coming. One afternoon, a cement mixer rolled through at noon, and the center of the span dipped more than it should have. That night I compiled the footage, the inspector's report, and a timeline of the crossings. I uploaded everything to a cloud folder and shared it with the county, the environmental regulator, and the local news. I filed a formal complaint and requested an immediate stop order. I wanted a paper trail that would be impossible to ignore. 2 days later, the county issued a stop work order for any heavy vehicles crossing my bridge. The contractors were not to traverse the span until they built a temporary engineered crossing or obtained a permit for reinforced passage. The contractor argued, the HOA complained, and Karen sent an email in all caps about overreach. But the county had its stamp and its authority. The truck stopped.